we're back because I decided that I was gonna have a terrible Wi-Fi signal, but not that terrible. So it's pretty good. So it's a wired connection usually, but it's mine's got a Wi-Fi signal, so that's the reason why it gets getting cut because of people watching TV downstairs or different things like that. So and also Dylan, the the room that's in that is uh that the Wi-Fi signal is in is probably overheating sometimes, so I have to turn off the port signal and I have to turn off the yeah, whatever. Anywho, enough of that. We're going to talk about the topic I was talking about. There were a lot of different reasons why I started to go into what people's opinions were and tried to break apart what they actually believed and how they actually thought it. Um, there are a lot of people that I went to therapy with that had certain opinions, that decided certain things and did certain things with themselves as a result of not our interaction, but their own certain things that they wanted to be able to. Their own certain things that they wanted to be able to make, and people don't understand what they try to get into sometimes, or what they go into. There are certain people that they just need a reason to be able to do something stupid or bad. And whenever they hear that reason, or whenever they have a reason, they decide that they're going to go off the wall because of the thing that they think is controlling them, and the thing that they think they let in. And that thing could be what they believe as an evil spirit, or anything like that, or or maybe even just a what they believe in is is that someone who they believe to be a true god or a true something is controlling everything they see around themselves, and that couldn't be any further truth. Um, a lot of stuff that people don't believe are real is real sometimes, that I've noticed. Like, there are facts that are misconstrued every day because of certain people's beliefs in the situations that they've gone through, and the times that they've believed them. It kind of blows people's minds sometimes when something exists that they've never seen before, and what their belief system goes through, or what the mental process that they have goes through, is if per I believe in something, then everything that it says exists. If per something else exists, then I don't believe in that because I believed in that before I started believing in something else. And within that mental break, because that is definitely a mental break, there comes a situation where people start to believe in certain things and only certain things. It starts to change their viewpoint on what a belief is and what they believe in. So that what they believe in, they don't think that it helps them sometimes, but understandably so. I think for their own mental processes, they don't understand that a lot of religions do help people with therapy and help people a lot. And as they go into certain areas of expertise, or as people who are unprofessional start to go into certain areas of study, if they don't have the same volition and knowing that there are certain rules, like as in something moving through air or space, if unaffected by anything, as in if not affected by a universe's force or pull, then that object won't move in a different direction. That is very, very true. Murphy's Law does exist. It does exist. But unfortunately, sometimes I believe that it's a theory in some cases, because as per we exist in a universe, or within a universe's grasp, because every universe has a grasp, and that's the reason. It's a pull, basically, that moves everything around. And the reason why things start to just slow down is because not of a universe dying or anything like that. It's because there are systems of motion sometimes within, I think, a universe. And I've studied this before. Certain physics that that are in realization, I guess. I don't know. Certain kinds of physics that that associate themselves with metaphysics and different sorts of poles of gravity. I've actually studied that, and it was in high school. There were a lot of things I realized because of one experiment, and when I did that experiment, it was only moving one ball to a certain motion and back again, as far as distance as relative to time. And that was a high school experiment, and I studied it more whenever I was looking at it. And it showed me that there are certain pulls, no matter what, within an Earth's gravitational force. But it showed me that that pull itself is not absolute. There are certain areas that are around the world that have low gravity, and they don't understand it's because of a certain metal that's inside of the ground. It either does not have the properties of floating, but it has the properties of being able to lift something, and or has an up. I don't know. It's an ionic bond that decides to pull against the Earth's core, and there's a lot of metals that actually do that. The reason why gravity affects different metals differently. The same equation happens for gravity, but the way that it affects metals on different things and different kinds of alloys is different because of the pull or push that the gravity has on certain metals, and also temperature sometimes. And that's the reason why I think that a lot of different metals are able to be used, because I saw this thing that they had a tractor beam in NASA, and that's how they were able to land on certain asteroids. And it had to do with a certain metal that they procured, I guess, but also too it had to do with certain patterns they put the metal in, and that's the reason for, I guess, and also the way that they powered it, I guess, with whatever power they were using. Whatever kind of power they were using, whether it was a negative ion charge, a positive ion charge, or anything like that. Ions, I think, are a different kind of case of charged electrons and neutrons, I think. I'm not exactly sure, so don't quote me. But there are a lot of different reasons why I decide to stay away from that stuff, because you could get very, very seriously watched by lots and lots of government organizations if you ever were to use those sorts of things. And if people don't realize that that ion charges are very volatile when used. And I just went around that animal because I am a video game conservationist. So realize that every thing that comes off of your TV, like a regular TV that was made in the 80s, has an ion charge. Basically, the chemical battery is what makes the ion charge. And I'm not going to say anything further because I might get watched by certain government organizations. So there are a lot of people out there that decide that they're going to make something for themselves, and they don't know that they have to have a license and a permit to sometimes mess with certain chemicals and certain things that actually make those batteries. They don't have to go through an extensive process of being able to have a PhD, but the PhD helps because it actually gets them a part of a company. If they want to make their own things or make their own stuff, they have to have certain permits and certain licenses to be able to make those things, to be able to do those things and be able to mess with those chemicals. Because there are a lot of different things that can go wrong with an ion charge. Or there are so many things that can go wrong with an ion charge. And but realization of fact of people's opinions that that go into all that stuff, there is no realization of any fact that could change the opinion of me saying that it is so unbelievably and completely dangerous. Realize that, and don't do stupid shit. So whenever you're out there trying to come up with your own opinions and stuff like that, I myself was studying different things when I was younger, and when I was studying those things, I decided that I was going to keep it to myself. Sometimes that might have got me on a couple of different watch lists. But granted, I was just drawing and painting and doing different things and trying to come up with new ideas. And as I came up with new ideas, I realized that there were certain things that created an ion charge, like batteries and different things like that. And the thing that could possibly completely change what alternators are is an ion charge alternator that that has a that doesn't have to use a belt, basically, and could be hooked up by a plug to the rest of the engine. And that's basically one of my ideas. Sometimes I come up with new ideas all the time. Also, too, it's probably not the first person to actually think about it, but hey, you know what? I'm not actually a licensed scientist, so that's the reason why I don't mess around with that stuff. There are a lot of reasons why I try to make my own opinions make sense, and there are a lot of different reasons why I see different pieces of fact that are useful, and when I don't try to take those thoughts, but I try to help understand, make myself understand different things, and as I'm trying to help and say different things, and also to realize that if anyone has ever tries to talk to me about ion charges, I know nothing about them. I purposely don't study those things because I don't want to get on those watch lists. Because I'm not a dumbass. I know about them, but I don't know anything that's inside of them. And I think that's a fraction of what they used for the Tesla. And that's the reason why usually it's fully electric. But they have no idea that it can work with hybrids too. And that much that I know, because I've not seen it, but I've studied it. I've studied the timing belts of different things and realized that there are certain things that people don't give themselves, and they don't realize that that ion charge alternator that is used in or insinuated in many video games and cars and things like that in movies. Because Ready Player One, there is an ion charge. What's the word? When they open the engine, they called things different things, and on Back to the Future, when they open the engine, they have to name everything. They have to name everything just in case it comes up in a conversation, because of the way that their lines go, the way that they're gonna go into detail or not go into detail. The lore itself is pretty good, but it's based on an actual scientific breakthrough. And that was in the 80s, so have fun. Or not the 80s, but that was in the 90s, early 90s. But realize that there are a lot of different times where I know about certain ideas or certain things that are a certain way, and only because of not talking to people, but studying on my own and realizing that I know certain things and understand the way that things work. It helps me become a person who's not a hacker, but knows that people hack. I know how people hack different apps and different things. They use certain tool boards, or they try to make a characteristic on a certain phone. It's the reason why people mess up their words sometimes, and old people get pissed off. Because of certain words that are messed up on phones, like they have people that hack certain apps and then blame it on, it's like, oh, it's like that kid has powers or something like that, or They say that stupid idiot, that idiotic guy, I can't believe you did that. And then they'll hang up the phone or something like that. They try to insinuate that they didn't do it. With every kind of call or with every kind of thing, they try to, like, I got called by this Indian dude. And he tried to take over the control of my mouse. Understandably so, my mouse didn't move that fast. So what he did was he was using his own processor to be able to send a Wi-Fi signal and hook onto mine. So that's what he was doing. I realized that there were a lot of different things that people don't realize when it comes to scam artists. And I studied scam artists sometimes. I don't study serial killers or anything like that. I study people who are pertinent today. Like, not people who are just in jail or like the idea of just blah. No, it's just stupid. I study scam artists a lot of scam artists, and I've noticed their ways. Like Miss Chloe, whenever she would say something, "Come with me, enjoy your future," she wasn't even Jamaican. She was not even Jamaican, and that was basically the giveaway. I think that people actually, but most people still called her, who were thirsty for ideas and stuff like that. But she didn't give them any ideas. All she did was she just took their money and tried to actually give people therapy sometimes or legal advice without a license to do that. But that's the reason why I think that they're, and then back to what we think about the ion charge, because I can talk about it more and realize that there are certain things that I can make and do, and there are a lot of things that understanding an ion charge. There are electrons and neutrons. So I know that there are electrons and neutrons because protons they push in a different direction. And if electrons and neutrons just cycle, that's the reason why they cycle. They can cycle into I'd say a charged turbine, I guess. And nobody knows that that's basically what turbines make sometimes, and that's the reason why you would see that when an engine starts up, when an electrical engine starts up, you'll see if you have a leak or a patch on your car, or if there's an electrical wire doing something, there will be like a static shock basically. If the rubber on that's the reason why by an alternator that is ionically charged, blah blah blah, would have to be fully encased. Because if it is, then it becomes unstable, and the car sets on fire because people are stupid. So when you get to notice certain things about an ion charge, or ions are protons and electrons, technically the reason why they're called ions is because it's two different particles. Two different particle accelerations. And this is not telling anyone about anything. I'm just explaining the concept. So realizing that there are certain particles in an ion charge, and that's what an ion charge is. Neutrons and protons. Something that repels the neutrons and electrons. Yeah. Neutrons and electrons. Shit. God dang it. Okay. So neutrons and electrons, as they start to push against each other, they start to go in a circle. Like when you know how your hands, when you make a circle, you know how to make a circle without actually seeing the circle. That's basically what neutrons and electrons can do.
On a red motorbike.
Protons don't stabilize anything. They don't stabilize anything. People think that they do that, but that's basically not knowing how to, the reaction of what happens when protons are introduced to an ionic engine is like when a chemical battery when a chemical battery becomes unstable, it starts to lose its charge. and when it starts to lose its charge, it basically just shuts off. Like, that's all it does. It's like when you're in a car and you're trying to impress a girl. You're like, because this has happened to me before, trying to impress a girl. Man, she was so cute, but trying to impress a girl and try to learn how to drive a manual transmission. My dad never taught me how to drive a manual transmission. He taught my sister how to drive a transmission. I don't like him sometimes. And so I tried to impress a girl with my learning skills and my ability to learn on the fly. And I succeeded in completely stalling out the car in 0.2 seconds. As soon as I took it. Actually, no, it's about 4 or 5 seconds. That's how long it took. It was about 4 or 5 seconds before the engine stalled. And it was funny because I laughed and I was like, shit. I don't know how to drive a manual. But I still believed in myself and I could learn, but I choose not to because it's stupid. Why would you press a brake to enact or slow down an engine to be able to speed up an engine? It's like, oh my goodness. And people that say manuals take less gas. Yeah, if you know how to drive them completely correctly and don't let them stall ever. Because if they do, what happens is, oh my God, what happens to a manual transmission when it stalls is the gas keeps going. It keeps burning off. So when it stalls, when that gas stalls, when that thing stalls, you have to know that it's like, oh, what is it? When that stalls, the accelerator is technically still going, and your engine is still running. That's the reason why you hear that hiss. So every single time you're losing about a fraction of a gallon of gas. It's the reason why manuals, but they're like, if you run it correctly, this entire thing is just the way it's supposed to be, and it is the way it is. And I'm just like, yeah, but automatic transmissions don't use that sort of engine, that sort of timing belt. So what happens is you get the most bang for your buck whenever you're trying to drive something that's, it's just easier sometimes. It's way easier. You don't have to concentrate completely on the clutch, because every single time you learn how to drive a manual, you look down at the clutch. And you're taught not to look down at the clutch. But what happens if you think that you're in a gear and you're not in that gear? You stall. And that's what happens immediately whenever people try to do certain things with their cars. They stall out. And they're like, shit, I stalled. And they lose their concentration. And then that part of the stressor can mess with you. But going back to ionic charges. That's the reason why I think that people don't understand what ions actually are. It's the bond between electrons and neutrons, and it can burn a certain color or make bright a certain color, because it also has to do with the mineral that that whatever's using it is made from, and that's the reason why you'll get a glow or you'll get something like that. And the reason why I think that people don't understand that they don't understand that there's a bigger realization when it comes to fixing something or making something new or making something better. Realizing that you'll have to rewire or retouch and redo the entire engine on something once you put in an ionic alternator. It will keep the battery charged all the time, You'll be able to start it up in any weather. It'll keep the engine warmer, less energy to be able to create something, and that's the reason why. But you'll have to restructure the entire engine to be able to work on less, because of that of an ion alternator. You'll have to, and I'm talking about stuff from like Ready Player One, because it's like that's the real thing. That's a real thing that can happen. It's real. All of the movies that have something in it that are like, oh, dude, I'm just going to use this phone. That's all real inventions that people got wind of. Those are all real inventions. It's not like, you know how people inspire people with movies and say a bunch of things that, a bunch of things that they inspire people, and then people are inspired to make inventions. It's like, no, people were trying to keep that stuff secret, and movies said something about it because they're douchebags. There were patents pending, and they were just going. That's the reason why they're assholes. The main reason why they're assholes. They're just like, oh yeah, dude, I'll keep it quiet. Oh hey, there's this guy over here that's doing this stuff. Shut up! God dang it, what's your problem? It's so douchey. It's like, oh guys, hey, are you guys reverse engineers? No. Okay, you want to be? Douches. And those are all businesses that are starting up sometimes that kind of get through ideas and get through different things most of the time, and or individuals that want to know more, or on their way to be able to become different people that are better at what they do and how they want to do it. And I find that a lot of times there are a lot of people that that have a certain certification without ever having a license, and right now my license is mostly expired, and I have to relinquish it from Mississippi and get a Louisiana one. So there are a lot of reasons why I find that there's a bigger chance of finding better situations for your life, and whenever you realize that there are people that have senses of humor no matter what, I found that there are bigger situations to what people call a formidable opinion, or a formidable situation that deserves your attention, and there are people out there that do so much and are so well invested in certain things that no amount of information or things could ever get out. And I want to know, and I want to let people know that there are people out there that make things, that stop things from happening, stop bigger things from happening. So, there are bigger reasons why I think that there's a reason for the people that I find that don't know about those things, or have an idea but haven't heard everything, is knowing about an ion charge engine. It's literally sometimes what they put in satellites sometimes, and it helps them with a gravity ray. What? It's a teleport. It's a tractor beam. It's a tractor beam. It's a tractor beam, basically, and it beams a sense of sound that allows it sends a signal basically to a rock, and as that signal gets closer, it starts to push away from that thing as thrusters and different things like that, but it still locks onto it and is able to make a certain sound, or a certain ionic charged sound that basically adheres the thing to it. The whatever the thing is, because I don't know the specific scientific name sometimes. So realizing that there are a lot of different reasons why people don't understand that there are things out there that people got into that they shouldn't have. And because of not knowing certain things, because of not knowing certain situations, there were a lot of risks that people took to be able to make something for themselves, and didn't realize that they were the ones that were fighting the war, because they were so deep sometimes inside of a situation, or someone else's talk, or someone else's speech that rallied people together to fight for no reason. Because there are reasons why people don't understand that there's certain people that think that they have to fight. If they have to fight, they have to fight something. And it's for their own self-validation that they ever do it. It's for their own gratification that they ever find someone foe to beat up, or someone to be able to do something with. It's their own self-gratification that they ever decide that they're going to be a star or a celebrity. It's what they want for themselves. But they have to realize, and people have to realize a lot, that those opinions and those things and those ideas that remain a certain way because of people's lack of knowledge are because stand that the more they fight, the more they lose a certain part of themselves. The more they don't realize that they invested their time on something so minuscule. So it was, and it is minuscule, fighting. And I've tried to stop myself so many times, and most of the time I succeeded. And I know for a fact that there are certain reasons why people don't understand that there is a big situation that happens sometimes, and people don't know anything about. And that situation is the idea of losing yourself. The idea of not only keeping yourself in a situation, but losing yourself within that situation, or trying to be in that situation forever. And that, I think, is the idea that stops people from thinking up the most amazing ideas and really finishing something that someone else started. So, if ever you feel like there's a situation that calls your attention, or calls to you for something, realize that there is a big situation out there just waiting for you to be ready for it. And a situation that calls to some ideas and to some certain opinions that speak to certain people that know that there's a situation out there for them that they don't realize, and that the situation out there is the fact that they never understood what they were trying to do in the first place. And whenever there are people out there that don't understand something, that become united, they try to do anything to change something. They try to do anything to change anything. And when they try to change something, what they don't understand is they're not changing it, they're making it worse. And when they make it worse, they don't understand that sometimes situations can fix themselves pretty easily with just a talk or a conversation or anything like that. And as you're realizing that there are things out there that can literally... There are situations out there that can actually heal themselves. You'll start to realize that there are bigger situations other than the ones you actually have. The situations, the problems that you actually have, or the problems you have with something. There are bigger situations that make you feel better, or help you focus and distract yourself while you're healing, or while you're making yourself feel not so angry, because of all the things that actually are out there that help. And all the people out there that are actually out there that help themselves to a bunch of different ideas, and help a lot of different companies to be able to realize different changes that they need to make to certain complete and utter, and no matter what car it is, to be able to realize it. An ion accelerator, an ion alternator. An ion alternator will change the speed of something completely. and people will use less energy because of it. And I know it's a fact. I know NASA knows everything about it. I did not hack into anything. I'm just saying that it's an idea and that I've known for a little bit. And that idea has stuck with me over the years, and a couple of years, because I thought about it for a while, and I started to realize as soon as I looked at a certain alternator in the car, and I realized that it didn't need a belt, and realization that it could be hooked up to a lot of different computers to cars, and it could be completely revamp an entire computer, make it shine brighter at night, or make it do a whole bunch of different stuff to basically be able to, and not exactly a plug, but a wire that goes into the engine, or not goes into the engine, but goes into the alternator, goes into a receiving thing, and I don't know. All right, I don't know at all. I'm spitballing here because I know what they want, and they're not going to pay me for it because it's the reason why I keep talking about it. So there's an ionic alternator coming soon, and it's going to revamp the entire car industry, because I know, and I haven't researched the patents, I just know that it's a thing because I've researched what different cars have inside of them and the reason why they made them that way. People who want a junk car and put an ionic alternator in it once it becomes available and readily accessible. Readily accessible means cheaper than regularly made. There will be a lot of different reasons to be able to drive a car, and the reasons why people will start to experience a new thought, and it won't only in Google cars or any other thing. Only in self-driving cars will it be able to communicate with people because of an onboard computer that will be ionically charged. So it will have a conscience, but it will be readily. The programming systems will probably be better because of the energy that is able to go through something and the way that it will be able to be programmed. So there's a lot of different reasons why I like stuff and things. And there are a lot of different ways why I understand that there are a lot of different people that are going to be interested in this stuff. And there's going to be a revamping of the entire auto industry very soon, and it's not going to be just in Michigan or Detroit Rock City anymore, because there's not just people who listen to rock all the time. There are people who like rap and lyricism and indie music and metal and a whole bunch of different other people, because I didn't want to name them all. Classical music. I like classical. It's fun. It's really good. And no, they didn't cause riots there because of anything. They just didn't get a refund because of the dude who kept farting. I don't know. It was funny. It's a funny thing to think about sometimes, like jokes and stuff. I know they didn't try to bring about the end of days. They just got a wind of something that was going to happen because of the computers that used to track the sun's movement and everything, because they thought that somehow if they faced something a certain way, they were able to mess with people's emotions and suggest things that were going to happen. And it's the reason why all dudes who are old in classical music were all manipulative bastards. But it's okay. They're not bastards that much, but they were douchebags, and they were mean, and they were very, very, very self-centered. That much I know of, because you cannot come up with an entire piece of music all on your own and not be inspired by just one thing. I know that they got inspiration from somewhere else. They always got inspiration from somewhere else. And they never, ever gained or ever... You know, they never seemed to want to care about the people who inspired them. Or never even gave out their special thanks. I actually do thank a lot of people. I thank Stan Lee. And I thank his entire team. Because there are a lot of different things that I came up with in my own mind about ideas and stuff like that that could change the world. And could completely revamp any sort of problem that anyone has. But unfortunately, the things that I thought about were untrue, kind of. There are certain things that people don't know about yet, and I'm not going to say anything about that either. And, I want to be able to make a certain part of myself, or at least a certain situation, or maybe even just go through a thought or a situation where there are certain things that help me, and there are certain people that I'd be able to get to be able to get to that help. And I don't want to be able to have those people around constantly, or to be able to make sure that those people are around me. And that's the reason why I got out of group therapy, because there are people that were just trying to get into my life somehow, some way, and I decided that there were certain situations where I didn't need to be at. And I'm talking way too much, but you are your own one-man personal metaphorical bomb squad. And you can be a certain person. You can make a certain thing. You can be where you really want to be and realize your goals and the certain things that help. And the certain people out there that are able to make sure that you can make a certain day and make sure that certain day is manageable, because things are about to change hugely, immensely, and people are going to freak out. Not freak out like in a bad way, but they're going to freak out in an awesomely, crazily good way. And they're not going to know what's going on, because I know people have thought of things as mundane and things like that, but there are things that are coming, and not just for me, because I'm very, very, I'm very, very happy to say that there are a lot of people out there that do very much enjoy a certain situation and have a very good head on their shoulders, and that includes me, because I find that there's a lot of different people out there that know that there are things coming, and there are people that are going to get the things to where they need to be, and there are a lot of different changes that are going to happen, and people aren't going to understand the reasons why those changes are happening, or the fact that it's not the thing that they actually think is going to happen. Trump. He's fucking paranoid as shit. God dang it. Alright, but it's okay. He's a president, and hopefully he'll be on $1 one day. So realize there are people out there that deserve things and stuff and peeps and a lot of different stuff. It's Easter. Peeps are great, and I'm not sponsored by them in any way. So or any of its affiliates. I'm not sponsored by any of them, so it's okay. People have to understand that there are certain... Oh, that smelled weird. There are certain things that people know about, and people know a lot about. And there are people that understand certain things, and as they understand those certain things, they have to understand that there are certain things that people don't understand, and through that misunderstanding, there are a lot of people out there that don't understand that there are people out there that help every day with everything, and that's sometimes the reason why I know anything at all. And it's not having to do directly with them, and it usually has to do with the reasons why I know certain things and why I've studied so much, and through a lot of different situations, I have to end it now. Realize you are your own one-man personal metaphorical bomb squad, and everything you do is changing and life-changing, and you are a part of the equation. Realize that. That's what math is. It's to make you believe in equations and the fact that you are a part of it, because you're the one solving it. And then there's an equation for that too. It's called mass over energy times velocity of thought divided by distance from mac and cheese and Gatorade. So be yourself and know there's a lot of stuff out there, so have fun. Be yourself. I'm a person. I'm a man with a thing on my key. Woo woo woo. Woo woo woo. Woo 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 woo. Have a good Tag. Have a good day.